hmm the broker-dealer implicitly represents to the world, yes, that the conduct of all its employees will be fair and meet professional norms, securities regulations, yes. In judging the appropriate standard of care that attaches to a broker-dealer in recommending securities, yes, to his or her customers and dealing with the customer's accounts, the Commission has relied upon the shingle theory. Yes, the shingle theory is but an extension of the common law doctrine of holding out. When brokers hold themselves out as experts either in investments in general or in the securities of a particular issuer, yes, they will be held to a higher standard of care in making recommendations. Yes. Now, I thought Horowitz and Associates had the availability of influencing, yes, when the arbitration was received by New York. Oh, so that it just happened that I was served after the 2 years of previously being in their employment so that I couldn't include them in the arbitration. Now, you would say I can't prove this. But when it's one day after the 2 years of my resignation from being a broker at Horowitz and Associates, I could question those in the SEC. Yes. Those employees of the FINRA. Those employees that are arbitrators of the securities industry. Yeah. In fact, I could ask Valerie Amburn, do you think that there was any influence right now? You mean that Horowitz somehow finagled Shannon Miller to file a arbitration against me, yes, but they had the ability to make sure that it would not be served on me until the day after the 2 years that they could have been held legally liable for the arbitration losses. Yeah, somehow I think there's some liability here. Now, for the employees of FINRA, yes, let's say that you do know of making war against the United States, SEC. Oh, you do know forgery and fraud, terminating of parental rights, yes, and the fraudulent obstruction of myself being able to own stock brokerages, yes, ship brokerages, yes, and real estate brokerages. Mm-mm. Now, the shifting the burden of proof. This is kind of a nice idea. Yes. Let's say in litigation, yes, the transference of a duty to prove a fact from one party to the other. Yep. The passing of the duty to produce evidence in a case from one side to another. Yes. As the case progresses, when one side has a prima facie showing on a point of evidence, requiring the other side to rebut it by contradictory evidence, burden of proof. Now, it sounds somewhat confusing. Yes. Let's say I sued Horowitz for interfering in my right to not be served in arbitration. Yes. So as to obligate the individual named as Shannon Miller. Yes. To have to have acknowledged that when she filed it in New York, somehow I think she was managed. Yeah. And it moved to Los Angeles. Yeah. And then for some reason I got served. What happened to be really 5 months after the 6 years I could have been named in the arbitration. See, there are certain requirements to an arbitration. Yeah. And my thought was that everybody kind of, well, let's make it look like Paul's the problem. Yes. But let's shift the burden of proof. I sued Gerald Horowitz, Jerry Schwartz, yes, Roberta Horowitz, Edward Horowitz, Pooch, every employee in Horowitz and Associates. And I say, well, this is what I'm alleging. Yes, that Horowitz and Associates intentionally involved themselves in an arbitration, but they made it possible that they would not be named as co-litigants. Yes, 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 yes. Removing themselves from having to have to be involved in that 2 years right now. Now, I could begin to question the various employees of Horowitz and Associates. Yes. Do you have any knowledge that Gerald Horowitz intentionally involved themselves? Yes, in an arbitration so that they would not be named as litigants of the arbitration, so as to make sure that I was served one day after the 2 years. Now the burden of proof would shift, wouldn't it? Yes. They'd have to prove, yes, that they had no knowledge of